Welcome back. As many businesses make their way on the road to recovery, minority owned businesses struggle to keep up. In an effort to support Black and Brown businesses facing the effects of the pandemic, community development nonprofit LISC hosted a small business listening tour. Senior Executive Director of the organization, Valerie White, joins me to discuss the tour. Valerie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, minority owned small businesses are still dealing with the effects of economic devastation following the COVID-19 pandemic. Why is this an issue for minority owned businesses specifically?
Well, minority-owned businesses historically have operated at a deficit. They've always operated with less access to capital, access to networks, access to opportunities. And they support also very small communities, the commercial quarters. So the fact that they've operated technically month to month for the most part for many years because of the systemic inequities, when you layer on top of that the impact of the pandemic, which was much more devastatingly felt in communities of color where minority-owned businesses generally are operating, it keeps them at a point where it's just very tenuous at best for their existence.
Now, what are some challenges facing minority business owners? And I wonder, are they a direct cause of racism and discrimination? And is that stopping them on their recovery?
I think that's a big part of it. I mean, when you talk about systemic inequities for minority owned businesses, generally it's access to capital. The businesses, particularly Black and Brown businesses, Latinx businesses, don't necessarily have the same opportunity to capital. They don't have the same relationships with the banks. Sometimes the algorithms or the methodology to determine who will get a loan is hurtful to a minority based upon just where they're located at or other characteristics. So that in and of itself is tremendously negatively impactful to the businesses. But again, the pandemic that followed or that came a couple of years ago actually just added on to that and exacerbated their already difficult conditions.
Now, this road to recovery is especially long for those in the Bronx. Why is this an issue for the Bronx as well? And how are we seeing those challenges be exacerbated?
Well, the Bronx does have certain pockets of high concentration of minority owned businesses and one of the lowest poverty indexes in the country, particularly in the South Bronx. So you have a community that just has not had its fair share of access, of opportunity, of services in general. And then you have these other conditions that are surrounding minority-owned businesses in these pockets of areas. So, for the most part, we want to be able to look to the Bronx and provide the needed resources, technical assistance, financial investment to allow these businesses to be able to operate in a positive manner.
Now, we know that COVID-19 was especially hard for businesses, especially minority owned businesses. But I wonder, were they also facing these issues even prior to the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. As I stated when I first began to speak, we have seen systemic racism, systemic inequities that have been part of the existence for minority owned businesses, and it has prevented them from creating an environment or achieving equity in operating their businesses. So you have those, but it was further exacerbated not just by the pandemic. Everybody suffered from the pandemic, but communities of color like the South Bronx, which we're talking about today, or where we had our listening tour, had even more negative impact and felt the pandemic much more drastically than other neighborhoods. So you have those two things coming together just to make things extraordinarily difficult for that community and for the businesses that operate there.
So, as you mentioned, you did host a minority owned small business listening tour with your organization. Can you just tell us about that effort to just address the issues that we're seeing for those businesses?
Yes, so what we are doing at LISC, and LISC stands for the Local Initiative Support Corporation, we actually raise capital and invested in underinvested communities and to support programmatic efforts to assist marginalized populations. So what we have been doing to support some of the work that we had did early on in the pandemic, we actually raised $4 million between 2020, April 2020, and now to give out to businesses across the city. But we decided after, dispersing and deploying that capital, that what we also needed to do is to sit and speak with businesses, identify what their challenges are. This was a result of a survey that we took in April 2021, and the results were just devastating. Businesses felt that they would not be operating within 9 months. They couldn't pay their next commercial rent payment. They were having workforce issues that were keeping them from continuing to service their clientele. The digital divide was just huge. So we wanted to just actually go from borough to borough and sit with the small businesses and hear what their concerns are and see how we can address it through advocacy policy-wise and legislatively, but also raising money from funders and philanthropic sources to stand up programs to assist.
Now, how did you guys come up with the idea to have a listening tour? This was something new to me and I've never heard of it before. So, why did you guys decide to go with that method and that approach?
Well, like I just said, the survey provided some startling statistics. And in order to really sit down and hear the concerns of the minority small business communities, particularly those that are located in the commercial quarters across the city that house marginalized and minority populations, we could take the information we got from the written survey and utilize that to spur discussions to get to the heart of some of the key issues that those businesses are facing. And that would provide us with information on how to advocate, both sit in the city legislature, in the state legislature, and federally, develop policy and contribute to policy development, but also go speak with our funders, our investors that have interest in ensuring that minority-owned businesses are successful, and we can raise funds to support programmatic efforts to help, continue to provide resources to these businesses.
Now, this is a vulnerable community, when we're talking about minorities and just people of the Bronx, and it requires help from all levels of government. Can you explain what that may look like?
Well, we are looking to ensure that as government is considering aid, whether it's federal, state, or city aid to minority-owned businesses or particular neighborhoods that have, had much of a more difficult time with COVID, that there is a consideration for the small businesses. Of course, small businesses in these commercial quarters, in these neighborhoods, bring a sense of economic stability, many times a cultural foundation, are generally the biggest employers in those neighborhoods, and small businesses provide jobs and opportunity for workforce development. So all of those things tied together in an ecosystem. So as federal, state, and city legislators are making, or developing and implementing new laws, looking at program and policy implementation. We want to be sure that these elements are all incorporated in a way that they work together to collectively lift up the community that benefits from the programs or the legislative actions.
Now, elected officials were also present during the tour. Just in general, what do you hope they took away from that experience?
Well, I was very pleased that there were quite a few representatives from the elected officials, and even one actual elected official there herself, the local assembly member. And what I think they took away from that tour is understanding the real needs of the businesses, which I think they had somewhat of an inkling of what businesses were dealing with, but also understanding where there are resources that could be coupled together to assist businesses in their communities. So because the resources may be different, right? We were at SOBRO, the South Bronx Economic Development Corporation. They had a variety of services. We at LISC have a variety of services. Generally, it's surrounding capital deployment, either to businesses or to organizations like SOBRO, so that they can assist the businesses. There was a lot of discussion about available programs through the city's state small business services agency that some of the businesses weren't aware of. So the key thing is, number one, that the legislators, representatives that were there had an understanding of these different programmatic, availability for the businesses, but also how do we figure out to put together a clearinghouse of information and then disperse it and disseminate it in the community, the small business community, so that small businesses can take advantage of the particular program or services that they need to be successful.
Now, you've been working in this field and you know a lot about it, but what's something that you can say that you've learned from the listening tour?
Oh, I've learned a lot. I learned how diverse of industries do we have in the minority and business community. And sometimes we do know that primarily when you're talking about commercial quarters in certain neighborhoods, generally these are personal service and the retail industry. But it's always good to have a reminder that there is a plethora of different indices where minorities are business owners or entrepreneurs. So constantly remembering and reminding myself that those businesses are there, and then starting to think about, there's some common, needs that all businesses have: capital, patient capital, grant capital, lending, legal, HR, accounting services. But there are some special, specific, customized services that are appropriate on an industry by industry basis. So just remembering that as a provider and an intermediary that invests in the provision of services, and ensuring that we are touching on the customization that's needed to support the well-round amount or number of industries that minority and businesses are in.
Now, how can people stay up to date with your organization?
Well, we welcome everyone to follow us on social media. We have a very active LinkedIn page as well as a Facebook page. We're LISC, LISC NYC, and that is our handle in both our social media. We are very active there with the different programs, commentary, opinions on policy development, as well as opportunities for funding, grants, or participation in some of the events that we get. The other way is to follow us on our website, peruse it periodically, because there we'll also have all of the information I just mentioned, but the ability to register for our events. And we are at www.lisc.org/NYC. That's www.lisc.org/NYC. And we're always updating with a lot of different information, exciting marketing tools. So we just ask everyone to follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also on our website.
All right, Valerie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I hope to see you again.
Same here. We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.